Hi there. Welcome to another edition of NOYO Jazz. Today we are going to be talking about the 2-5-1 progression. And with that, what we're going to be doing is I've got my piano here, and I'm going to be going over some of the 2-5 progressions that are in the jazz package on the Google Drive that I sent all of you in your NOYO Jazz packets. So the very first thing is, why do we call it a 2-5 or a 2-5-1? And I'm going to share my screen here. Let's see. Yep. There we go. So what you can see now is 2-5-1. Well, this all goes back to the fact of the kind of scale degrees that we were talking about before. So with that being said, you remember we were talking about the Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, and all that other stuff. Well, if you were to look at, let's say, the key of B flat, we're going to go with that one because that's the first one here. If that's 1, then what is scale degree 2? That would be C. Now, what would be scale degree 5 in the B flat scale, B flat major scale? F. So essentially what you have here is a 2, 5, and then B flat is 1. Now, this could come in 2 different ways. It could be spaced out like what you see right here over 2 bars for the 2 and then the 5, and it resolves to a 1 on the following bar. Sometimes they never actually resolve to the 1. So what you actually get is just a 2-5 over 2 bars. It can also come as a 2-5-1 in, let me take these away here. It can also come as a 2-5-1 within a 2-bar phrase like right there. And with that being said, sometimes it actually resolves to the 1, and other times you just get a 2-5 for a bar, like right here. So basically, that's the breakdown of why we call it a 2-5, but the important thing is that you understand that there are tons of licks that have been developed over the jazz vocabulary that are incorporated into these 2-5 patterns, licks, whatever. And you'll notice that I have them in all 12 keys separated by exercise numbers. Here's exercise 1, and then it goes through all 12 keys, and then here's the second one with a different pattern, and exercise 2, and then it goes through all 12 keys, and then here is a third pattern in exercise 3 that's completely different than the other 2. And I've given you 3 patterns in all 12 keys. And what I've also done is I have broken them down, and I've elongated them for this version. And then you could use that if it's over a 2-bar, 3-bar phrase like that. Or I've also condensed them down. As you can see, it's the exact same notes, just it goes from these kind of quarter notes into 8 notes. Okay, so, and I'm actually going to play, and I was going to say all of you can mute and play along, since that way you can hear me, or if you're watching this video later, you can just play along with me. And I'm just going to take it like right here. So, and the other thing you need to know before I get started is that you need to internalize that sound of 2-5-1. So the root notes are, and it's a very common progression in music. So 2, 5, 1. So you have that. Now when you actually add in the chords, play it one more time. Here's the 2, then the 5, and the 1. Okay? Now, that's everything we're going to be talking about for this first section is for major 2-5-1s. There's major 2-5-1s and there's minor 2-5-1s. We're going to get to minor later. But what I was going to say is if you will actually look at your sheet right here that you can see, we're going to play exercise number 1 and we're going to go through this entire line and I'm going to let you hear it first. I'm going to play each line twice, 2 times. I'll let you hear it first and then I'm going to let you play along, okay? So we're going to do it twice total, okay? Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and. 1, 2, now you ready, go. Here we go. Okay, now, line 2. Here we go. Now you, here we go. 1, 2, ready, and. Here we go. Second part. All right, yeah, I added an extra bar in the middle. I apologize. So the idea here is that you go through each one of these, and if you find a 2-5 lick that you like, you know, and you need to make sure that it has this exact makeup. If you're looking at a sheet and you like the solo, that it's a minor 7, that's the 2, to a dominant 7, that's the 5, to a 1, okay? That's the important thing. And it could come in this form, condensed down with over 1 bar, or it could be spread out like this. Now, another thing that I wanted to make sure that I include in this is the fact that you can add a little bebop flair to this, you know, a little taste of bebop in that language by adding a gruppetto to any one of these. So, for instance, instead of going straight on, or you can add a little twist in there. You hear that difference? There's a difference. Instead of going, you can go. So that's one way of doing that. So go through these. I'm just going to play just the chords now that I've kind of explained that makeup and some of the things that you can do. I'm just going to play through these and you can play through them with me. And we're going to start at line 1, okay? 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, go. C sharp minor. hopefully you were able to kind of keep up there. Now we're going to look at exercise 2, which still is the same type of chord progression. Nothing has changed except the pattern has changed. So this one goes like this. And if you'll notice with this, you have the 5th of A minor 7 chord, you have the 3rd of the A minor 7 chord, you have the root of the A minor 7 chord, and then the dominant 7th of the A minor 7, leading to the 3rd of the D dominant 7, then it goes up to the 5th, then the dominant 7, the 7 of D7, and then the 9th, which is the same thing as a 2 in the key of D. So essentially what you're doing is you're tonicizing each chord change as it happens. And it's really just kind of stacking the chord and going zigzag, right? So you have 5, 7, 5, 3, 1, 7. Then it goes to the 3rd, 5th, 7, 9, or 2, whichever way you want to look at it. And it ends on the 5th of the G major 7. Okay, now what's important here is this connection right here. That half step makes a smoother transition from the A minor 7 chord to the D7 chord. Okay, and remember, the important thing to keep in mind is that all of these notes are in the G major scale. That's the one that we're tonicizing for this lick. Okay, so all of these 3 bars are basically a lick that you can play in the key of G major. Same as this. All of these are a lick, the 2 bars over 2 bars that are in the key of G major. So that being said, let's go through and play some of these. Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Next. 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 The next page. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, and. All right. Hopefully you were able to stick around and keep up with that one. Now, it's the same premise. We're on exercise 3 now. But you'll notice it's the same chemical makeup of each chord change. So you have a minor 7 for the 2, you have a dominant 7 for the 5, and you have a major 7 for the 1, right? So, and once again, this is the expanded version, and this is the contracted version right here, okay? So let's try to play some of these, and I'm going to take this one a little bit slower because it's not a regular line. It's kind of it kind of arpeggiates, and then it goes kind of down scalarly, okay? But you'll notice that we have right here before I get started. The minor third, the fifth, the root, and the 7 of this chord. And then we have the third, the 9 or the 2, the 1, and the 7 of this chord. And then we have the third, which is the major third of this chord. But you'll notice, right, this is like in the key of, all of this is in the key of E flat major, right? So that being said, you can look at this as octave, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, and it just keeps going down that scale, right? Right. Okay. So that being said, let's play through this a little slowly. And this is also important as to why I was saying that you really need to work on those scale workouts and major scales and be really tight with that. Like, I mean, cold, comfortable. Wake you up at 3 o'clock in the morning, you know, out of a dead sleep, and then you're just like, yeah, I'm going to be able to play those major scales. So this is why all that is important. It builds upon those things, okay? So let's do number 3. Here we go. 1, taking a little bit slower. 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, and. Next. Next. Moving up, got the C sharp minor 7 we're going to begin at now. Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, and. Next. Next. Not bad. G sharp. All right. G minor. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, and. So that concludes the 3 exercises. But that being said, please don't think that that is the only kind of exercise that there is out there for major 2/5 progressions. You know, there are tons, I mean, thousands. You could even just, you know, Google search online, and you could look and say like jazz 2/5/1 progressions, and you'll find just lists of easy progressions and very complicated progressions. But the idea is that you eventually want to get to the point where you can just look at these progressions and they go relatively fastly. And it could be on any instrument, you know. I was only playing the piano just so you could hear the chords behind the lick. But if I'm going with a saxophone, You can just go right through them, you know what I mean? And one way to do that, let me go ahead and share the screen again. One way that you can do that, there we go. One way that you can do that is you can just play this and go straight into this and go straight into this bar, and then just you can go right down the page like so, because you'll notice that this right here is the beginning note of that one, and the A flat is the beginning note of that leg. So you can just go right down the thing. Straight on down. So that's another way that you can look and practice and get really, really comfortable with these 2/5 progressions. And like I said, this is just a launching point. This is just a starting point for you so that you can get into that language. You know, the great trombone player, J.J. Johnson, he always said that there are 3 steps to, you know, becoming a great jazz musician, and that's imitate, assimilate, innovate. And imitate means that, you know, all of these 2/5 licks that I've shared with you come from different songs and different solos that I've transcribed and that I was brought up on and that I was taught. And I just wanted to share that information with you because those are some of the easier ones as we go through. You know, some of them from Oliver Nelson, some of them are from Clifford Brown. And it's definitely within the bebop language, and it definitely lays out that sound. You can definitely hear that progression. And you can rhythmically alter this as well. So that's one thing. The second thing that I wanted to get to was minor 2/5-1 jazz patterns. Okay, it's just like it's a similar premise as the major 2/5-1, except there's a different chemical makeup to the chords. So let me share this screen with you. There we are. So you'll notice that they look very similar. They still kind of expand and contract, right? Here's the elongated version right here. Woo, my bad. The first 2 bars are the elongated version, but then the second 2, I'm sorry, the first 3 bars are the elongated version, and then it condenses down in the last 2. But what I wanted to make sure that you see is this right here, that you see that that chord and this chord, whoops, are different, okay? And this chord as well, really, if you want to get down to the brass tacks of it, because instead of a minor 7 to a dominant 7 to a major 7, like with the major 2/5-1s, what we now have is a minor 7 flat 5. So that's the difference. It looks similar, but it's not the same. Now, another name for the minor 7 flat 5 is half diminished, which is, I believe, what Aaron was talking about a couple of weeks ago, where that's you'll see F, and then you'll see the little circle with the slash through the side of it, right? That means half diminished. And it also means minor 7 flat 5. And it's a different sonority too. So remember that when we first started out, that's the major, right? So this is the minor sounding one. You can hear that. It's still the same roots. Right? But now the sonority has changed. Right? So let's listen to this first exercise, just a couple of them. Right? So there's definitely a different shift. It sounds more minor. And that's what it should sound like, because all of these tones right here are highlighting notes within the E flat minor, you know, kind of scale. So let me erase that. All right, so I'm going to play through just a few of these. And once again, you'll notice that there are all 12 keys that I provided for you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then on the next page is exercise 2, right? And it's a different minor 2-5. And I've got all 12 of those. And then finally, we've got exercise 3, which there is no elongation for. Now notice that too. So for exercise 1, right, you've got the elongated version, and then you have the shorter version that's condensed. Exercise 2, same deal. You've got the elongated version, just like the major 2-5s, right? And then you've got the condensed version. Okay, in exercise 3, it's only condensed. There's no way to really elongate that out, okay? Because it's a true bebop lick. So I'm going to play a couple of the first ones. I'm going to probably go through about 4. So let's go through these first 4 of exercise 1 slowly, and we'll play it together. 1, 2, a 1, 2, a 1, 2, ready, and. Here we go. Next. Next. Not bad. Last one. Okay, so you can kind of see, right? I'll go ahead and play through just the chord changes so you can play the actual lick, or starting on D flat minor. Okay, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, and. Next. 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 And D minor, flat 5. All right. Now we're going to look at exercise number 2, and it's a similar sort of thing. You've got, and that really gets that flat 5 in there. So you take the 5. What is the 5 of A? E, and then you flat that, and that's E flat, right? So that's why we've got that note right there. And that is also the same note as that flat 9 with the dominant 7. So 9 is the same thing as 2. So what is the scale degree 2 in the key of D? Remember, we're tonicizing each one as we go, right? So the second scale degree is E. So what is a flat E? E flat, right? So that's why that's such a prevalent thing before we go through there, right? So good. Let's listen to how this lick goes. Right? All right. Now, let's play through 4 of these, just like the other, and then I'll comp the rest for you, okay? Here we go. 1, slowly, 2, and 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, go. And D, and G minor 7 flat 5, and C minor 7 flat 5, and F minor 7, B flat, E flat minor, C sharp minor 7 flat 5, F sharp 7, B minor, E minor, F sharp, B, E minor, B minor 7 flat 5, last one. All right. Now, let's take a look at exercise 3. Exercise 3 is listen to that again. I'll play it up an octave so it's a little bit easier. Rest, rest. Okay. Now, let's do the first 4 and I'll comp the rest for you. Okay. And the idea as you're playing through these is just so you get an idea of that minor scale under your fingers, whatever, within a bebop language, whether that's major, whether that's minor. The point is that you're getting that under your fingers and in your head and thinking about these chords vertically and horizontally within the bebop language. Okay, so let's play that again. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, and. My bad. E, 2, 1, 2, ready, and. D. Now G, C, F minor. Next. 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 All right. So the reason that I'm trying to get you to think about all these and kind of work through all these, and by all means, create some of your own or transcribe some of these from records. The reason that I'm wanting to get to this is because in a real life tune, such as Tune Up by Miles Davis, right? Can you locate the 2/5 or the 2/5s? And the truth is, right there's one. That's 2. That's a minor, and that dash means just minor 7, by the way. So you've got minor 7 to dominant 7. Now, does that actually go to a 1? Is that the 2 of D? Yes. Is that the 5 of D? Yes. So that is a 2-5-1. Similarly, you look right here. There's another one, but it's a different one, right? And then look right here. There's another one. Then you have another 2-5, but it doesn't go to D. It goes to B flat major. So, and then another 2-5. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4 elongated 2-5s, and then you have 1 condensed 2-5. So what you could do over these progressions is, here's the way it sounds. Second line, C major 7. Third line. Fourth line. Top. So you could take that first, and all of these happen to be major 2-5-1s. So there you go. You could take that first exercise, and that would be a great thing to do on that major 2-5s, right? And you could use that same lick for each one as it calls for it, right? Case in point. Second line. Third line. Right? Now, you take, let's say, but that's autumn, I'm sorry, that's Tune Up. Now, let's take something like Autumn Leaves, right? It looks a little bit different. See, the chords are kind of within a staff in this one. They could also come like this, where the chord changes are above. Now, that doesn't change anything. You're still looking for 2-5s. You're still looking for either a major 2-5, which is a minor 7, to a dominant 7, or you're looking for a half diminished or a minor 7 flat 5, or minor 7 dash 5, you know, that's another way to say minor, to a dominant 7 in a minor 2-5. So you're looking for those two chemical makeups of those chord progressions. And if you look, sure enough, right there is a 2-5-1 in G. So that actually hits the 1 right there, okay? And then we've got a C major 7, and then this looks like something. We've got an F sharp minor flat 5. So that's a 2 in minor. So what is the F sharp the 2 of? E, yes. So, and there's an E at the end. So what is the 5 of E? B, good. So right there is another 2-5-1, but it's a minor 2-5-1 in E minor, okay? And then there's a repeat sign, so you do a major 2-5, then there's a chord in between, you do a minor 2-5. Is that the same thing? Yes, okay, so you do a minor 2-5 again, and then you go, and let's see, we've got a minor 7 flat 5. Hey, wait, that's the same thing, right? Yes. But bam. So you've got the same type of minor 2-5 right out the gate past the second ending. And this is what we call the bridge right here, where I'm putting this plus sign, okay? That's the B section, AABA form, right? And then let's look at this. We've got a minor 7 and a dominant 7. So this should be your first warning, you know, like red light is when you see a minor 7 to a dominant 7. So that's probably a 2-5. What is A the 2 of? G. What is D the 5 of? G. Sure enough, bam, there's another 2-5. Okay? And looky there. There's a 2-5 right there. Then we've got this little chromatic spell that we'll talk about in a few weeks. And then we've got a chord, and then we've got that, and then we've got that. So, minus the little chromatic thing, everything that's highlighted is a 2-5. So, you could seriously go through this, and here's the chord progressions starting at the repeat sign. F sharp, first ending, repeat back here. F sharp, second ending, plus sign. Here's that 2-5. 2, 3, 4. All right, so if we're going to use our 2-5 powers that we've learned today, let's start from right there. Repeat. Plus sign. A minor. F sharp. So you can see, yeah, you could use those exercises that we just learned. Now, there are pitfalls that I'm going to warn you about, and that's why I have brought up all the things you are. This is a very cool tune, and this is a tune that actually gets called a lot at jam sessions to kind of see, especially if you're younger, if you know your changes, right? Case in point. Oh, look, bingo. We got a minor 7, we got a B flat, so that's a 2 and that's a 5 in the key of E flat. So this is 1, right? This is a 2-5 progression. Not so fast, as Lee Corso would say. Not so fast, my friend. The chemical makeup for a major 2-5 is what? Minor 7 to a dominant 7. Now, is that a dominant 7? No, that is a B flat minor 7. So you cannot do the exact same 2-5 progression. Like it doesn't fit. It's like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, right? So you've got to make sure that it's a dominant 7, and that's not. So this is not a 2-5 progression. Sorry. But if you'll just look right here, that is. Now you have a minor 7 in the B flat minor 7 to an E flat dominant 7, and that is a 2 and a 5. B flat is a 2 of what key? A flat. You got it. And an E flat is the 5, so it all checks out. Now you have an elongated 2-5. But don't fall for this trap going here. You see what I'm saying, right? Now, once again, you've got this. That's not a 2-5 progression. And you've got it again right here. That's not, because that's a minor 7, going from that C minor 7 to that F minor 7. But just like in the first line, that's a 2-5 progression, a major 2-5 progression, because it's a minor 7 to a dominant 7 in the B flat 7 to 1 in the E flat major, right? Then you've got A flat major 7 to a D7. That's not a 2-5. But then look right here. there is a 2-5 progression. A minor 7, it's a minor 7 to a dominant 7 in the D7, right? So you've got a 2 and a 5, and that's A and D is a 2 and a 5 in what key? G. So it checks out. Then, looky here, you've got a minor 7 and the F sharp minor 7 to a dominant 7 with a B7 to a major 7. And is that a 2-5-1? You bet it is. That's a 2-5-1 in the key of E major. Then you've got this same thing again. It kind of is reminiscent of that first line up here, right? And you've got another 2-5 progression in A flat major, just like the first line. Okay? Then you've got a D flat major, D flat minor 7, C minor 7, a B diminished. There's no line through that circle, right? So it's a B diminished chord. We talked about diminished chords with our scale workout, right? Okay, and then at the very end, minor 7 to dominant 7 to major 7. So all, except for the X's, all the highlighted lines are 2-5s in this song. And you could do the exact same thing that we just did with Autumn Leaves and Tune-Up, right? So let's take that. Third line. Fourth line. Next line. D, G, F sharp. X, and D flat major, D flat minor, C minor, B diminished, so, and that's just using the 2-5 exercise that we learned, right? So there's no minor 2-5s in this. It's all just major 2-5s, and a lot of them come back. So you've got a 2-5-1 in A flat major. You've got a 2-5-1 in E flat major. You've got a 2-5-1 in G major, a 2-5-1 in E major. Then that A flat one comes back, so it's the same thing. So we're not going to count that as 5 different ones, right? And then you've got that exact same thing again. So you've got that A flat major 2-5-1 progression 3 different times, but there's only 4 different ones within the whole tune. So when you start to learn a couple of these different 2-5 patterns, right? Do-ba-do-dee-da-do-do, or pattern number 2, right? Or pattern number 3. Then you can mix and match and do all these sort of things that you would like to do in order to come up with something different within these different 2-5 licks. And remember, all these 2-5 progression, 2-5-1 progressions is just tonicizing A flat major for 3 bars, E flat major for these 3 bars, G major for these 4 bars, right? So we can actually extend this out, you know, and then E major for these 3 bars, A flat major for these 3 bars, and A flat major for these 3 bars. So, I mean, you could sit there and say, I'm just running up the A flat major scale, and it would work, but that just doesn't sound very good. So that's why it's a lot hipper to go. Right? So between all the things you are, Autumn Leaves, Tune Up, minor 2-5-1 progressions, 3 of them, right? 4 of them, I'm sorry. There was extra ones there that I added later. And these major 2-5-1 progressions, this should give you more than enough stuff to kind of work on. And remember, it's like I was saying last week, the 2-5 progression, whether that's a major 2-5 progression or whether that's a minor 2-5 progression, are like the words a, and the in the English language. And you could still get your point across by saying, cook chicken now. But you sound like a caveman, right? And we don't want to sound like cavemen because jazz is a very eloquent language of music, you know? So that's why instead of going, well, I'd like to cook the chicken tonight on the grill. See how we used chicken with the word the twice? That's the whole point. So hopefully this gives you a lot to kind of marinate on musically, mentally, and it gives you more than enough stuff to practice, okay? So remember, practice hard, wash your hands, stay safe, and if you have any questions, do not hesitate to email me, okay? nholloway@noyo.org, all right? Thanks so much. We'll see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.